Third thing we found, shared risk, kind of an obvious thing. You know, military people lead from the front. That's kind of burned into our culture. But even business people now take a lot of their compensation in the company and that sort of thing. People trust people that are willing to lead with them and be in the middle of things. And I use this quote, you know, from James Molinaro. This is during Hurricane Sandy. He didn't see the American Red Cross out on the beaches, and he said, all these people making these big salaries should be out there on the front line, and I'm disappointed. My advice to the people of Staten Island is do not donate to the American Red Cross. Let them get their money elsewhere. That statement on national TV, and you can see Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand in the background going, please don't let me be in frame, please don't let me be in frame. That probably cost the Red Cross $7 to $10 million in donations. It was a bad choice as a leader. But he kind of lost his temper, and the reason he did was he couldn't see anybody. The Red Cross was probably working 24 hours a day for him by then. But because they weren't present, because they weren't seen, he didn't trust them. Oops. By the way, green button. Okay, the fourth thing is something a little similar to that called common lifestyle. And what we found is that when people are hurting, they expect their leadership to reduce their social distance. Reduce their social distance. So most of us who are in some kind of leadership role, we're separated a little bit from the rank and file by status. Maybe we have a better office, different hours, different pay structure. But when somebody's in danger, they need to know that their leaders understand their feelings and are connected to them. And so, for example, I wouldn't, you know, when I was in command, I wouldn't ordinarily go and socialize with a soldier. But when they were in the hospital, for any reason, I was there. Okay, I was there. And I would check on them, and I would talk to them about their family situation. If they were just having a baby with their family, I would ask them if they had help when they got home. And it makes a huge difference when you do that reduction. The trick is that most of the time in a crisis, we're talking to lawyers who are saying, don't say a word, you know. And it's everything happens behind closed doors, and everything gets released by email. And that's probably good legal advice, but it might not be good organizational leadership advice. And leaders have to sort that out. And then the last thing was, you know, what are the true qualities that are going to be important in a crisis? And this was repeated over and over again in all four of those studies. The relationship between competence and loyalty and building trust. So far and away, the most important variable when you're trying to lead in crisis, whether it's your family, whether it's in your business, it's competence by a wide margin. So here is the list of variables that Pat Sweeney uncovered in Mosul. The distance statistically between competence number 1 and the number 2 variable was the same distance as from number 2 to number 10. That's how preeminent competence is. People need to know that you can get them through it. But it's not enough. People also need to feel like their position is being taken into account. You have to have competence preeminently, but there also has to be this connection or this understanding or caring between you and people, or they'll assume that you'll throw them under the bus. And then all those other things, you know, courage and self-control and confidence, you know, that's all secondary to those 2 variables in building trust. Now, how do you demonstrate competence, though? You know, you can put things on brochures and talk and so forth, and my advice to people with this is always let people see you work. Explain your work to people and let them see you work, and they will sense your ability. Because most of us get into positions of seniority because we're good. because we are competent. But if you make every decision from an office, if nobody ever sees you go through decision-making processes, then how do they know that you're competent? And the thing that you never, ever want to do is to try to look competent. That always goes badly. And I like to use these photos right here to show you how badly that can happen. So this is a 4-year-old photo. It's from the Mideast peace talks. If you look there you see President Obama, you see heads of state from the Middle East. If you look at the person who's in the upper left-hand corner with the black tie, you see that guy? Anybody recognize him? That's Hosni Mubarak of Egypt at the time. Okay, and this is a terrific photo. Anybody'd love to be in this photo as a leader. But when it was released in Egypt by the state-run media, it looked like this. So they photoshopped him to the front. And if you look at the way his tie is sloped, they flipped the image so everybody would be in step with Hosni Mubarak. Okay, so you know what happened, right? Like within 24 hours, he was everywhere. He was running the Bulls at Pamplona. He was playing for the Miami Heat. He had a terrific loss of face. And this was not his fault, by the way. His director of communication did that. But he didn't need that, because less than 6 months after this photo was taken, we entered into what we now refer to as the Arab Spring. And he was out in a very short period of time and didn't need the kind of embarrassment that brought on. So the key is, don't try to look good. Let people watch you work. They'll recognize your competence and your ability.